Hi everyone, I'm Vitor Nogueira, I'm board member of Atelier Digital AI, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all to the first session of this podcast, Fitting Room. Why we are doing this? To support you to have some critical conversations about the main challenge of the fashion apparel brands in this region and globally. I have with me today Vitor Hugo. Vitor, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, a pleasure to be here. My name is Vitor Hugo and I'm the CEO of Atelier Digital. I have, a typical journey until joining Atelier Digital AI, since we are a fashion tech AI startup based from the IFC AI campus. My background is in finance, risk, and analytics. So it's a little bit atypical, but comes right in hand with AI, technology, and risk management.
Vitor, why fitting room will be important for the fashion industry?
I believe this podcast will be quite relevant for our audience because we will do our very best to highlight a lot of the existing pain points and how we can support our audience into doing better. Because again, AI has a lot of potential, and we are very much focused in exploring untapped potential. So we are not focused on substituting anyone. We are solely focused on bringing value to companies' lives. With no cost of opportunity associated.
And what can the audience expect from these sessions? Because what makes a fitting room special? What makes us unique?
So our focus will be to have very unique guests that will speak about their own experiences and their own pain points, right? Obviously, there will be certainly we will identify a trend. However, it will be great to hear from these experts, these professionals with multi years, decades of experience in fashion and apparel, retail, and see from their perspective where are their major pain points and potentially how we can support them as Atelier Digital AI.
Fantastic. Look. We have been witnessing for many years, many conversations, many publications about the main challenge of the fashion industry, and not just from fashion, but all the let's say complex framework around the fashion as well. We hear about the people struggling with e-commerce. E-commerce, increasing very, very slowly. People feeling stressed because the level of returns in some brands and in some segments are very high, and the consequence of that is, as we know, very strong impacts in sustainability. We listen also. Level of adoption about companies that are trying to adopt AI for many years, some of them, and the level of adoption is quite low, and there are lots of data about that. There are many corporations where this level is one digit, which is a bit scaring, at this stage in terms of, global rush for AI, implementation AI, and moving to agentic AI, etc., etc. Which is your take on that? What do you think that, in this case, Atelier Digital AI can do for the industry? Where is the focus?
Yeah, so to start with, I think your point on adoption is quite crucial because we see a lot of FOMO, or fear of missing out, from the market. However, the adoption is not as at the rates that are desirable. I think it requires some education. That's what we are trying to do with this podcast. And because again, the potential is incredible. Like we discussed recently, and we saw recently, right, with a Nobel Prize being given to to DeepMind from Google. It's a remarkable achievement, and this is something that we are trying to do, like of course in a humbler way. We are not expecting at least for now a Nobel Prize, but we are very much dedicated into bringing this true and honest impact into and help retailers solve these pain points. And which are these pain points that we have observed and also identified in reports as from McKinsey and other golden sources in the market. For example, cart abandonment. It's a huge one, where we see that 70% of potential sales just sit on carts. This waste of potential, right, that we can support with. Then we see that with our technology, we can increase their sales via average order value increase due to personalization and also access to virtual try-on. We also saw how trendy and the new feature from Zara became. Right. Of course, we are more focused on an approach that that allows generation of images in a shorter time frame, because again, the attention span is getting shorter and shorter, especially after COVID with TikTok coming in and the shorts. So we are very much focused on an average of 30-second generations, which accommodates to what people expect from the nowadays content creation. And of course, something that you very well highlighted is in terms of cost reduction, and this means a lot of things. Cost reduction with reduction of returns, and obviously the sustainability factor, which is crucial, where we can significantly help with the reduction of the carbon footprint.
What you can do for, because that is important, and we are talking about multi-billion dollars in terms of economy, but what you can do else? Many companies, they don't engage. They have their e-commerce platforms, but they have very little transaction or not significant transaction. Some others are trying to engage earlier with Gen A, Gen Z, and they fail. They miss out, as they did with millennials. What you can do for them?
Yeah, I believe you just touched a crucial point. I think for these younger generations is very important to be, to have a differentiating approach online, and this is what we can bring them, right? So we can be a beacon in their websites, in their platforms, because as going back to the example of Zara, when they launched, it brought a lot of attention around it and makes perfect sense. It's a novelty, it's something that is quite incredible, and this is something that we are focused on. Obviously, with us, we are much more than a virtual try-on. We allow people to not only do a virtual try-on, but we also have a fit intelligence embedded that allows people to have a recommendation in terms of sizing, which also supports people's reducing their frustration on their online experience, and obviously the retailers in terms of the returns reduction.
Yeah, I know that you and your team, you have been pitching with many of the big fashion retailers, apparel, and so on. I know that you have been with several brands from LVMH, from Kering, Richemont, Dolce & Gabbana. You have been across MCM, Uniqlo, Zara, etc. And in the region, I heard about you guys have been speaking with apparel, Chalhoub, Alshaya, etc., etc. All the iconic, let's say, fashion leaders or retailers. From this experience, from these conversations with all these relevant players, which are the key learnings that you'd like to share with our audience? How they welcomed your services, and what they expect, and which will be the next steps with these people.
For sure, the engagement is very high. Of course, people need to understand that this is not just a plug and play. It requires support from both ends, right? We are ready to support, but even looking at the best AI models that are designed for a specific mission, they need high quality inputs, and this means we need very high quality images from their collections. We need the adequate sizing, because without that golden sources to train the model, it's impossible for us to do the most or the best work we can do. We know we can do that work, but we need that support from our partners. But there's no doubt that people are very much engaged and interested in this kind of technology, and they see their value. And something that we are very much focused to be even more tangible. We also, based on public information, we prepared a table of benefits so that we can support, the decision makers.
Impact, you mean?
Absolutely.
Okay. That means what you're saying is that you, with your team, you show the impact of your service in the P&L of these potential partners.
Correct.
For us, but for someone that is listening us and is not knowledgeable about what means AI and what you do as solution, in simple words, how can you tell these people what you are doing, what you are impacting, what you are transforming? Simple words that everyone can understand. Mm-hmm. If it's possible.
So it's a great question and tricky one. But I would say we are, in very short words, we are transforming how retailers and their clients relate to each other. In a way, we are basically rebuilding how they interact, because, just give an example and to complement into my answer, let's start on the most traditional way of obviously on the offline in stores, right? So we know especially in luxury, better than most people, if not anyone, how important the offline experience is for luxury brands. And we are trying to add an additional bridge to capture people online to not only have a fantastic experience and exposure to such brands online, which will also have a linking effect into their offline experience, right? So there's a win-win in all platforms.
Fantastic. Then, what will be the next steps of your service? You mentioned at the beginning that this is a virtual try-on, that in reality, I'm understanding from what you are saying, that this is more than that, is a efficiency service, efficiency tool. Which will be the next steps? What a retailer that is with you, that buys your service, what they can expect in terms of future, in terms of progress?
So to give you a little bit about what we are and what we see as our future. So we are, in simple words, we are AI layer that is integrated once into the retailer's platform, right? We provide virtual try-on services with fit intelligence. Our ambition in the future is to keep this flexibility because nowadays we are able to integrate any best-in-class model into our platform. This makes sure that the retailer is not locked into any vendor. So as we, arguably maybe 1 year ago, the best model was Midjourney for image generation. Nowadays, one of the most popular ones, if not the most popular, is Nano Banana Pro. Right? We can make sure that our clients always have access to the very best model. And in terms of future vision, we are building future tools as AI search and AI stylist, which will allow people to search for or describe via text or anything, any bag, any jacket, any kind of accessory, wherever they wish, and they are able to describe, but they don't have any imagery. Imagine in a metro, in your way to work, and you just describe it, and it will find that article. And another one is you can also do it by with images. So you're in Instagram, you identified something that you like. You're in the tube or in somewhere in the bus, and you like someone's bag. You can take a picture and upload, and it will find exactly the same article so that you can purchase it.
Yeah, fantastic. You mentioned a couple of times about some of your competitors, Google. You spoke about Zara, the fantastic example that launched about 2 months ago. What makes your service and solution different? Mm-hmm. Where do you? Because I know you have been announcing that you have the best tech on video globally. Mm-hmm. What makes this global tech so special, unique? Which are these features?
Yeah, so to start with, our technology allows any retailer, or in this case, the customer, to try on mixed units. So if you want, for example, okay, I like some black trousers and I want a blue shirt. With our technology, you can do that. You can use a mixed try, which no one else in the world can do nowadays. And as I said before, also you have no vendor lock-in, right? So you can use always the best models available in the market, which is a fantastic opportunity because, it's like you invest integrate once, so the heavy lifting is done one time, and then we make sure that you always have access to the, very best, to the state-of-the-art technology today and in 10 years. And then is our commitment also, as I also mentioned before, on on having a reasonable waiting period for customers, right? So we were recently, for example, you mentioned Zara as one of our competitors. In December, the average visit was north of 6 minutes, per each visit. So basically, each visitor took around 6 minutes plus visiting their website. So if you have a technology that does virtual try-on and takes 4 minutes, basically you're saying that people have 2 minutes to screen and they can do one generation.
I understand. That means this means that this is a fantastic technology, but still having some, let's say, challenge. And we have been hearing about some hallucinations, etc. Which are your comments about that? Which are your views? Is your tech rate 100% perfect, even being the best tech globally? How is that? You eliminate all these hallucinations and stuff, or you still working on it like everyone?
That's a great question because it's quite important. So nowadays, no model is perfect. Nowhere else in the world, no one can guarantee there are no deviations. So because a model drift is something that is typical. Again, we cannot forget these are probabilistic, not deterministic models. So there's always a margin for error. Of course, there are techniques, and we are working on reducing the margin of error. As for example, you can use RAG, which links you to systems or databases of golden sources, which kind of force the model into verifying that what is being generated is exactly what you're striving for. However, nowadays it's still not possible to guarantee 100% that it will be perfect.
Okay. You mentioned before that you have a table, if I understood right, where you can calculate the impact of your service on the P&L of a partner. If I'm one of these partners, okay, I come to your team, we have the delivery of the service. What I can expect as impact is that 1%, is that 10%, is where is, and based in what?
Okay, so based on public information, we made sure that this was computed based on third-party data to make sure there was no bias at all. So we are very safe in saying this, and what we observe is that the expectation on the usage of such technology is an uplift in sales of at least 50%, and
50%.
50%.
Wow.
Yeah, and in terms of net income, assuming your net margin is 10%, our estimations are an increase of over 100%.
That means if you have a net margin of 10, you will double it.
Yes, that's our expectation.
Fantastic. How much are you enjoying this job and this, this new phase on your life? You come from finance, then I know you are involved with me in other retail business, and then you came as CEO for Atelier Digital AI. How much are you enjoying this? So where is the funny, stuff in the day by day? Because it's a startup.
Yeah.
A new team, lots of challenge, new in the market. Like any startup, it's difficult to scale, to reach, etc., etc. Tell us a bit about this experience.
Yeah. So I'm loving the experience. It's not easy at all. Sometimes there's a lot of, people only highlight the successes, and people cannot forget that, over 90% of startups fail. So it's something that we keep in our minds every single day, and we strive for staying, the best and doing the very best for the company and our clients at any moment. So I'm loving the experience. In my previous life, I was involved in developing some projects around AI and machine learning, but in very specific cases. So it is, and obviously my experience in risk. Both those experiences help me, do the job nowadays, because obviously from the tech perspective, also being curious is something that is, there's something new coming up every day, pretty much. So, so it's very, if you love to learn, it's a great sector to be in. And from a risk perspective, so, my mindset on risk management, identifying all the risks, because people forget that risk management it doesn't mean you need to actively manage the risk. The risk management is about identifying all the risks. You manage the risks that you feel like will be crucial for your business. And some risks, you manage them passively, which means, okay, I'm aware of those risks, but I will not do anything. I will just keep an eye, and we will keep pushing, because in the end, startups have limited resources, and it's about maximizing what we have with what we have.
Tough world.
Absolutely.
How special is being here? You are leading a UAE-based, Dubai-based company, startup. There are lots of incentives, of course, for startups. I know from what we spoke before, you are not having access to such. But usually, any solutions, any service that come from, tech side, mainly come from US or from Europe, some from Asia. But how is this experience of bringing a startup based in AI campus, in the AFC, to the world? It's much easier many times a foreigner to come and land here and getting some adoption, getting some support. But how is for a young Emirati company to fight to go global?
So first, let me add that it's a great great pleasure to be here in the UAE. It's quite inspirational, what the government does. It's quite amazing, and for us, it helps us feel the motivation to keep going and have the ambition to become a flagship for this country, because it's really amazing what everything that is being done, and the ambition to export technology. And we want to be part of that ambition and support the country into becoming or reinforcing their positioning as a leader in AI, as we already see. Of course, it has its own challenges comparing with the US, as we see. The VC world in the US is comparing with the whole world is much more developed, so the access to funds is much easier, be it equity or debt. So of course that's an additional challenge for us, but we are quite confident that we are in the right place at the right time, and again we have the ambition to become a flagship for this amazing country.
Fantastic. Look, if you have a message for people listening us, okay, for your actual partners or your potential partners, which will be that message? What you would like to reinforce to them in terms of your impact, your company, your services? Mm-hmm. Which will be the right take?
So it's a great question. I believe I would say, don't fear innovation. And we are so confident of our impacts that we, as a normal procedure, we are available to offer POCs to our partners to prove our impact. That's the level of confidence we have, right? We are so confident that if after they try and work with us into incorporating our technology into their platforms and their channels, they will see the results. They will see the ROI is there, and I would invite them to join us in this transformation, and I can guarantee they will not regret it.
Thank you. Well, we just need to invite all our key partners, key retailers in this region and globally. They are very welcoming to this space, to the fitting room. Will be nice to speak with them about their operations, how they see the future of the retail, which kind of tech they foresee in their operations, which are the challenge, but also the benefits of having that, all this transformation road that many companies, they talk about transformation, about impact, about innovation, but then, to be honest, what I witness in all my life is they do very little. Mm-hmm. And today, I believe that AI cannot wait. Tech disruption cannot wait. That means in some cases, we are all a bit late already. Mm-hmm. Because what we know as AI is already one step further. And with the quantum coming soon and all these new innovations, this will be in the next years a completely shift in terms of business model, in terms of company management, et cetera, et cetera. And many companies, if they are not right and they don't have the right attitude, adjusting now in terms of the team, because many profiles won't be the same. People will shift from one job to a different job. Many people think that AI will eat jobs. No, AI will transform jobs. Mm-hmm. AI will create new opportunities. Mm-hmm. Tech will create new opportunities. This is the consequence of disruption. Economy sometimes eats jobs. When things are not properly managed, then yes, there are other different impacts. But that is macroeconomies, governments, and we are very little to think about that or to discuss about that. But in what we can do, I think all of us in the enterprise, we need to make sure the impact is there, the transformation is there. Not today, but yesterday should have been there and should be there ASAP. If they don't adjust, if they don't transform, if they don't disrupt, many of the companies in this sector will face big challenge. And today is already challenging, to keep the pace of the previous 4 or 5 years. And if this is not welcomed, then we'll see many other companies struggling worldwide, globally. Well, let's hope that we can, in these conversations with our guests, talk about this challenge, find some solutions, learn from them about what they are doing and which are the solutions going forward. And thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to be here with you.
Likewise,
and
always a pleasure.
Wishing you all the best in this venture. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for following us, and thanks for attending these sessions on YouTube. You can follow us also in Instagram. Please invite your colleagues, invite your friends to follow us and to keep updated about the impact of the new technology in the fashion industry and in this region. Thank you very much.